Hi, I'm Will Lockamy.
And I'm Reed Lockamy.
And this is the Iron Bowl Hour.
Or as we like to call it, the show that unfortunately bet $3 million that Alabama would cover the spread against FAU last weekend, so no more craft services the rest of the season.
I'm starving.
Yeah.
On tonight's show.
Here's where you don't understand, Reed. You don't have children. I do. I know the power of a sticker. Is Auburn that good, or is LSU just that bad?
I think Auburn had the game of their life. They played well. Okay.
All right, Reed, it's time for Agree to Disagree.
That's right, Will. No matter what the topic is, don't forget we are contractually obligated to disagree with one another in this segment.
I didn't get a contract.
Yeah, there's a contract.
Alabama has worked its way into the number one position this season, but some would argue they haven't really been tested yet. Have they earned their spot atop the polls?
That's a great question, Will, and
Thanks.
it's an easy answer. Of course, they have not earned that position atop the polls. So that was we can go ahead and move on to the next topic.
Oh, wait, hang on. The team that is coming off of a national championship run, who is reloaded and now playing the best football they've ever played, has not earned their spot?
Well, yeah, there are a lot of things that I'm going to have to argue with in what you just said.
I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, Alabama is a team that just finished second in their division last year. It failed to win a conference championship,
Right.
won one game all season long against really a pathetic-looking LSU team in the national championship game. And now this year they have come back, and listen, they've won all their games against nobody. Who have they beaten this year to earn their spot atop
Michigan?
Michigan just lost to Notre Dame. Notre Dame, Will, one of the worst college football programs there is.
They're on the rise,
No,
right?
Why? Because they beat Michigan. Michigan's horrible. We just discussed that.
Okay, how about this, Reed? For
Okay.
no other reason, who else is going to be number one at this point?
Okay, well, let's be clear about my argument here.
Okay.
I'm not saying that Alabama shouldn't be number one or that some other team should be number one, right? Really,
Okay.
when you look at it, but the question is, has Alabama earned their position as number one team in the country?
Right.
And listen, everybody's talking about like, oh, this is just the best team in the world.
Yes.
And really, I think that there's a decent chance that this is, in fact, just a good football team.
No,
and
this
I'm not
is-
saying that just to make Nick Saban happy.
No, Reed. I am
No.
saying to make him happy. This is the best football team that's ever been a football team, Reed.
That is not going to make Nick Saban happy.
No, seriously, people aren't even interested in watching the games because everybody just knows. Look, Alabama's going to win this game by how many? 30, 40, 50 points?
No, that's exactly the point. They don't know that because this past week against, FAU,
How many points?
they were supposed to win it by like 51 points.
Right.
And they actually won it by only 33 points.
This is my point. That we're disappointed in a team that's winning by 33 points.
Because they only won by 33 points against FAU, a miserable football team.
I'm
Will.
so proud.
At home, they should have won that by, listen, Las Vegas says they should have won that by 50 points, and they fell well short of that. So, listen, until they beat a real team, which maybe won't happen all season once again, then they haven't earned their spot, whether they win the national championship or not.
Number one.
Florida State is so famous for its use of helmet stickers as motivational tools that ESPN has a new commercial featuring that practice. Should teams like Alabama and Auburn consider using these stickers too?
Yeah, of course they should be using helmet stickers, Reed, and here's why. Kids love to be motivated, and let's not forget these are kids that we're talking about, these college students. I honestly, they're young men. They're
men. They're young men.
Yeah, they like to show off, Reed. They like to see, hey, look what I've done. They like to show all their friends.
yeah.
And I promise you, this is the way it is.
Listen, Will, you don't sound like an SEC fan saying that sort of thing. This sounds more like the sort of thing that like people in Oregon would talk about is, having these flashy, and I know there are a couple of teams in the SEC who use helmet stickers, right?
Right.
But that still doesn't make it right. And it doesn't even mean that they're effective. I'll tell you a team that uses helmet stickers, Kentucky. Right? Did you know that? That's surprising to you. You know why? Because the players on that team, even though they use helmet stickers, aren't good enough to earn any helmet
No.
stickers.
They're not good enough to earn helmets, Reed.
Well, they almost play like they haven't been wearing helmets. But the point that I'm making is that helmet stickers they're just a gimmicky sort of thing. They're not traditional uniform things and.
Here's where you don't understand, Reed. You don't have children. I do. I know the power of a sticker. The other day I took Lila to the doctor, right? She had to get a shot. She did not want the shot, obviously, until she was offered a sticker for the shot. All of a sudden she lets a needle go in her arm. I'm telling you, People will do lots of things for stickers.
Well, I'm not arguing that. Listen, stickers are nice. I had a sticker collection when I was a kid, right?
Right.
But not when I was a 20-year-old man, right? And certainly not if I'm playing a game like football. I should be motivated by things other than stickers at this point. Right. And like I said, I don't even see where they're that effective. Once again, like we said in the question, what team is most famous for using helmet stickers?
Ohio State.
Well, okay.
Florida State.
Good enough. I was going to say Florida State. Whatever. Okay, let's take either of those programs.
Okay.
Florida State, they've been in the dumps recently. That's not been helping them out too much. Ohio State, those players have probably been trying to sell those helmet stickers, right?
Right.
So that's not helping them any. Kentucky uses helmet stickers. They're horrible.
Yeah,
La
we should leave
Monroe
them out.
uses helmet
Well, they're
stickers.
fantastic.
Western Kentucky uses helmet stickers. This is
Little meat wads.
a little something like that. Listen, all right, let's say this. If Alabama and Auburn are going to use these stickers, what should those stickers even be for these teams?
Well, of course, an eagle for Auburn.
Well, I was thinking like a little toilet paper roll or something like that.
And then
No?
a tide, a crimson tide for Alabama.
A crimson tide for Alabama. Okay,
Sure.
well, one way
Reed,
or another.
If you'll agree with me, I'll give you a sticker.
No, I'm not going to fall for that again, Will. No, I'm not going to fall for that. Arkansas is just really, really awful. I mean, really awful.
I'm glad I'm going first on this one. I'm going to have to obviously agree that Arkansas is really, really awful.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, Will. I'm going to disagree with this because no, that's you just said Arkansas is really, really awful. That's
Yeah.
absurd. They're at least 3, 4, maybe 5 really. So really, 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 really awful. There you go. I win as usual.
After this, Reed, we're going to profile a guy that makes Alabama bird houses.
I would have thought elephant houses.
Nope, bird houses.
Yellow hammers.
Reed, after 4 weeks, I'm pretty tired, and of course, you injured your little piggy, so I think it's going to be a good week for us to take a break and have a bye week from recording a middle this week. So we got Josh Sneed. He's going to go profile a guy that loves Alabama so much, Reed, that he makes houses for his birds that say Alabama on them.
I'm sorry, what? I wasn't paying attention. This is a bye week for us.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
Sorry. I'm sorry.
it's a middle we're not
apologize.
in.
I apologize.
In the world of college football, there are fans, and then there are super fans. They're the ones who, to put it mildly, take it up a notch. Well, we caught up with one such fan. His name is Casey Niles from Birmingham, Alabama. And he likes Alabama football. A lot. All right, we're here today with Casey Niles. Casey, first question. How long have you been an Auburn fan?
Never.
The big owl you got in your yard here, how's that going over with the homeowners association?
Luckily, I don't belong to one, so.
And the goalpost is made out of PVC pipe. Did you make that yourself?
PVC pipe, I sure did. Had an oak tree right there that the concrete elephant is on, and it got knocked down during the tornado on April 27th, and that's usually what I had him tied on to, and I had to decide how am I going to get Big Al tied up, and so I decided to just build a goalpost.
And who's your little buddy here?
This is actually my mom's dog. His name is Saban. Can you say Row Tide? Say Row Tide.
And speaking of Saban, your jersey is actually signed by Coach Nick Saban. Well, so Casey, you kind of agreed to take us inside and show us around. Is that cool with you?
That is very cool.
All right, let's go inside.
All right.
All right, so you've got a lot of stuff here. How have you sort of amassed your collection?
Birthdays and Christmas presents.
Never a question on what to get you.
Never. And then, if I see something that I like that I don't have, I pick it up. Usually if it has Alabama on it, I have to have it.
All right, so you kind of got like a bar/shrine kind of thing going here. Pretty relieved that it's not surrounded by candles and blood, but it looks like you've got some Jell-O shots here. Is that a tradition for you?
That is a tradition. Every touchdown Alabama makes, everybody's got to do one.
Wow, okay. So I think I'm going to go ahead and take one right now. Is this cool with you?
yourself.
All right, it is a tradition.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, ready?
Ready.
1, 2, 3,
Roll
go.
Tide.
That's good.
And now this came about, there's nothing better that I've witnessed than actually being in T-Town on game day, tailgating, eating great food. So when I have game day at my house, we do our own traditions, just have our own version of tailgating for Alabama game day.
So this is a huge TV. I mean, is this so do you usually have people over? You guys have the Jell-O shots? Is there any other game day traditions you have?
Not really. We just hang out, have a good time, and try to cheer the Tide on. My TV started off as a 32-inch. Next year it went to a 40-inch, and now it's at a 50-inch. So we'll see if we have something bigger next year.
All right, so we've checked out a lot of things you've got at stores and put around your house, but you've actually made your own piece of memorabilia, haven't you?
Yeah, this is my little Alabama birdhouse. Everybody in my family's got one. Everybody's telling me how I need to make them and sell them. I've probably made about 30 of them and given every one of them away. I just can't bring myself to sell it.
From the script A on the side of his house to the big owl in his front yard, Casey Niles exceeds our expectations as a superfan. Do you think you or someone you know will qualify? Drop us a line at ironbowlhour@gmail.com or just look us up on Facebook. We might be doing game day jello shots with you. Will and Reed.
Well, thanks a lot, Josh, for filling in there for us and doing that middle, giving us the week off, right, Reed?
Yeah, I was watching. It was good.
It was, for sure. Yeah. Up next after the break, we talk to former Alabama wide receiver Keith Pugh. Reed, it's time for Rapid Fire Questions on the Grill, brought to you by Billy's Sports Grill, with former Alabama wide receiver Toothpick Keith Pugh. Here we go.
Better feature outside of a football stadium, the Walk of Champions at Alabama or the statue of Jerry Mathers at Oregon State?
Walk of Champions, for sure.
Okay. Alabama is to national championships as Auburn is to what?
Second place.
Ooh.
That's actually a promotion for Auburn.
It is, right. Congratulations, Auburn. Better nickname, Toothpick Keith Pugh or Bleeding Gums Murphy?
Bleeding Gums Murphy.
Yeah, it's a great character from The Simpsons.
Why doesn't God make it so at least Notre Dame has a respectable football team each year?
I don't think God's really that concerned about football.
Oh, okay. Don't tell Notre Dame that. A Virginia Tech safety once said you had, quote, the best hands of any receiver, end quote, he had ever seen. Have you ever considered becoming a hand model?
No, never thought about it.
Lots of money in hands.
That's right.
I saw it on Seinfeld one time. Which sort of person is more likely to get into heaven, kickers or referees?
Kickers, for sure.
Okay, definitely not wrestling, definitely not replacement referees.
Ooh, the worst. You were quoted as having said this about Bear Bryant. My biggest thrill in college was the first time he called me by my name on the field. What did he say to you?
Keith.
That's it.
Oh, wow.
That's all he had to do.
That's it.
Then you caught a ball.
That's it. That's
That is special, yeah. Whose offense has a better chance of scoring a touchdown this weekend? Ole Miss versus Alabama or Auburn during their off week?
I'm going to go with Auburn in their off week.
Probably
Yes,
about
yes.
right, yeah. Of Alabama's 8,300 titles, how many of those have you been a part of?
Let me see. 1, 2 national championships and 3 conference championships.
I was worried he was going to flick us off there.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Let's let him claim a few more.
Okay, why not?
That's right.
He's
Yeah,
got extra
that's all I
fingers
got.
left.
That's right.
To the elevator we go.
All right.
You know, really no need to floss as much when you got a toothpick around like that.
Kind of like his flossing, right?
Yeah, and we're still here with Toothpick Keith Pugh, former wide receiver from Alabama. Thanks for sticking around.
Sure. Glad to be here.
Now, we talked earlier on the show about this Alabama team this year and whether or not, how good are they actually? Some people think they're the best team of all time ever, and some people would say, well, wait a second, why didn't they beat, Florida Atlantic by more points? What's your opinion about this team?
I think they've got the potential to be one of Alabama's best teams, but it's kind of scary when you start talking about how good they are, how invincible they are, because on any Saturday, we've seen that anybody can get beat, but they do have the potential to be a great team.
Do you think they've really been tested yet, though, when you look at who they've played?
Well, I think going into the Michigan game, that was a big test because they didn't know exactly where Michigan was, and they had to prepare, and Michigan came out, and I thought that was big. And anytime you travel on the road in the SEC, because Arkansas since then has kind of, not been real strong, but they'll find out in the next.
Not strong at all.
Not strong
Yeah.
at all. That's right. We'll find out in the next few weeks. They go to Tennessee and then go to LSU. Exactly. If they win out, they'll be a great team.
But isn't
No
it
problem.
silly that we've gotten to a place where we're upset with a team because they're only winning by 33 points?
It really
what?
is. And, that's just what Coach Saban has done. He's raised the expectation level to where people are, it's just hard to meet them.
Compare the expectation level now with Coach Saban to what it was when you were there with Coach Bryant.
Very, very similar. I think maybe with Coach Bryant, after he'd been there for so long, had so many championships, that it really was even higher than it is now. But Coach Saban's getting it back to that level.
All right, now compare the expectation level with Coach Saban compared to when Coach Price was the coach for a couple of months.
We were so excited. I remember listening to that press conference.
people were particularly
he knew
excited,
the
yeah.
players' girlfriends' names. That's what impressed me. He knew what kind of pizza they liked. He knew everything. Maybe he knew too much.
Maybe too much.
A man who knew too much.
That's right.
Now, football players can be known to be rowdy and, stay up past curfew and maybe get into some stuff they shouldn't be getting into. You were known for the exact opposite of that. Did they give you a hard time?
Well, Stedman Shealy and I were roommates, and prior to that, Jeff Rutledge, and both those guys were strong Christians, and we were known to stay up past 9 o'clock sometimes. Yeah.
Wow.
The old Ned Flanders.
That's
out
right.
there.
I remember Jeff and I were studying for finals, and we drank coffee about 8 o'clock and stayed up to 10 one night.
Wow.
It was
Yeah,
a
don't anybody
big
tell
thing.
Mitt Romney about that.
That's
right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now,
he's a Mormon.
As being a big Alabama guy, the rumor is you've married yourself an Auburn girl. How's that working out for you?
That is a family secret.
Yeah.
When I introduced
Not
her,
anymore.
When I introduced her to Coach Bryant, I said, Teresa, unless he asks you specifically, did you go to Auburn? Don't mention that. And so he never knew that. God rest his soul. He never knew that my wife went to Auburn. But
Thank goodness.
That's best that he
yeah.
passed away before that.
That's
Found that out. Yeah.
So sounds like a good fan where she can actually pull for Alabama. Are you a good fan? Can you pull for Auburn?
no, but that's okay. I have on occasion actually pulled for Auburn against LSU the other night. I thought that would be a great win for Auburn and a good situation
and
there.
maybe benefit Alabama.
Maybe benefit
Was that
Alabama.
more
Help us.
pulling for Auburn or pulling against LSU?
More against LSU,
No, okay,
but that's
gotcha.
just to be totally honest.
Let's talk about this. So you are a pastor now of a church in the Tuscaloosa area.
Tuscaloosa, right?
And do you have any, members of your congregation who are Auburn fans or who are willing to admit that, being in the
Yes,
Tuscaloosa
we
area?
do. It is amazed to me how many Auburn fans you find in Tuscaloosa. We have them in our church. We had a LSU family up the street from our house who flew their flags and everything right there in
Oh,
Tuscaloosa.
man. Do you think you have the strength to put these people back on the right path?
Well, I will pray for them. Now, it's
They're
all
obviously
good.
masochists of some sort. I mean, why would you fly those flags? That's
But
crazy.
it's a lot easier living in Tuscaloosa than we were in Sylacauga for 11 years and Jackson, Alabama for 9 years. And, when you're away from Tuscaloosa, it's much more evenly matched. And
Sylacauga is just full of Jim Neighbors fans.
that's right.
Fun there, yeah.
That's right.
Now, as a preacher, what do you think about players or coaches or fans, especially praying for a win? How does that work in your mind?
One of my fondest memories would be Stedman Shealy and David Hanna and several guys. We'd get together for prayer before each game, and we never prayed to win. We prayed that Christ would be glorified in us by the way we played, and that we would conduct ourselves in a way that would bring honor to Him. And football and God's concerned about everything, but football in the grand scheme of things is not a big deal to Him.
God is not from Alabama originally, so
Correct.
yeah,
He
that
didn't
would
have a dog
explain
in this
that.
fight.
That's right. That's right.
So, what do you see the rest of the season for Alabama? Just an easy peasy walk to the championship?
No. I think the Tennessee game, like I said, will be a big. And Ole Miss could be a challenge.
All right, stop.
This is
I can't even take you seriously at this point.
The hardest thing during the Ole Miss game is going to be staying awake for the Alabama players until the end. It's a late game, and it's going to be a snoozer.
Well, I was actually the honorary captain for the Western Kentucky game, and when Coach Saban came up, it took all I could do to ask him, "Did y'all practice for Arkansas?" And I knew not to go there because
Really, in hindsight, they didn't even need to do that.
No, not at all.
I mean, the season's almost becoming boring. It's just like, here we go. Another,
Well, that November 3rd in Baton Rouge is going to be, and see, in the 70s, Alabama won there, from 69 to, like 30 years.
Yeah,
That was
they
our
haven't
home
stopped.
field. Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
And then they've Of course, LSU won a couple years ago, but Alabama's had a lot of success in Baton Rouge. But when you come out of the locker room, they've got this big tiger staring you in the face. It's
Mike,
pretty
right?
intimidating. Yeah.
It is
Not a
Mike.
very intimidating name for that tiger, I think.
Mike the
Tiger,
Mikey.
yeah.
We call him Mikey.
So
Okay.
it's not, is Alabama going to win the national championship? It's by how many points?
No, it's going to be that's going to be tough. LSU, Georgia, the SEC championship game. If we get that far, there's a lot of football to be played.
A
Yes.
preacher and a comedian.
Look at that.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for hanging out. This has been a ton of fun.
My
Yeah, no
pleasure.
doubt.
Thank you, guys.
You should stick around because up next it's time for the Wickles Pickles Picks of the Week. Reed, of course, when the Lockamy brothers pick pickles, we pick Wickles, and it's now time for the Wickles Pickles Picks of the Week.
That's right, Will. A Wickle will tickle your taste buds just right. Now, Will, if you'll recall, this is a season-long points race, and we were both a little bit surprised by the Auburn-LSU game,
Very.
Along with the rest of humanity. So anyway, after last week's picks, right now my score is 115, which sounds bad, but not as bad as yours, 117. Remember, the lower the score, the better, so I'm
Okay.
edging you by 2. Of course, Auburn is off this week, so we only have to pick one game, and that is Alabama versus Ole Miss. I say it's a game. I don't expect it to be much of one.
Hardly.
So, Will, how are you picking this game?
Alabama will win by only 27 points, Reed.
Okay, I'm going to say also Alabama will win. That's no shocker, but I'm going to say maybe a little tighter. I'm going to say by 24 points will be the margin of victory for Alabama this weekend.
Poor Reed.
Well, we'll see about that. Yeah.
Television viewers, don't forget that you can follow us at the Iron Bowl Hour on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And of course, you can listen to our radio show, Oh Brother Radio, every Thursday on Birmingham Mountain Radio.
No doubt. Oh, and also that reminds me, Gray's back, Will.
Welcome back, Gray.
Yeah, so listen, we got to get out of here. Well, I've got a meeting with an attorney. I'm involved in a lawsuit with my hairdresser right now, so that's all the time we have for this week's show, unfortunately.
Good luck with that, buddy.
Yeah,
I'm Will
thanks.
Lockamy.
And I'm Reed Lockamy.
Roll Eagle, Reed.
And War Tide, Will.
The Iron Bowl Hour is brought to you by Wickles Pickles. Add an exciting new taste to everything from Thanksgiving dinner to Saturday sandwiches. A Wickles pickle will tickle your taste buds just right. Billy's Sports Grill in Birmingham, located in English Village, Overton Road, and coming soon to Northport. Billy's, come on in and feed your goat. And Vulcan Park and Museum, home to the world's largest cast iron statue. For more information, log on to www.visitvulcan.com.
Television viewer, don't forget that you can
Just
follow-
one viewer.
Just one this week.
Expectations are down.
I forgot,
viewer.
I forgot Dad's watching as well. Television viewers.
That's right. I'd like to call out the show that's happy to announce that even Will and I got in on a few plays late in the game against Arkansas.
That's right.
Missed it.
Ready?